Hi, this is Linda Ehrenfried with OOAK ArtDolls.com. Smoothed. Okay, in the right neighborhood. And now we need to put some eyes in her. This is not the eyes I was planning on using, but they will have to do. And one of the things that I do to try to figure out if what I'm using eye-wise are the right size is I try to get them on the picture and see if they center between the inner corner and the outer corner of the eye. If they won't center, then they're too big. If you can see super clear the inner and outer corner with too much space, then the eye is too small. What you want is something where you can just barely make out both at the same time. Then you know you have the right size eyeball. Okay, I'm going to move that aside. And what we're going to do now is use my stylus, which is approximately 6 millimeters. That's the size of my eyes I'm using. I'm going to go ahead and use it gently to make an impression where I want each eye to go. And then I'm going to insert the eyeballs. And these are just beads. Okay. Now you can use pre-made eyes. You can do it any way you like. I find the pre-made eyes just seem to torment me, and I like the look of the eyes painted, so oops. And then we drop it. So you want to always turn the head upside down as you work and continue to do that. You want to look at it from multiple angles and make sure that you're not having this eye set at this depth and this eye set at a different depth. You want to try to get them both spaced an equal distance apart from the bridge of the nose and at the same height from the chin to the top of the head. You want them on the same line. And a really easy way to check that is, again, to estimate the pupil line and look at it in comparison to the overall head. And if you're off, now is the time to fix that. So it looks like I'm in there pretty good. They're not too far back, they're not too far forward. I still have maybe a little bit tall, still a little tall on the bridge of the nose, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, this will be an adult female, so her features can be a little more masculine if I want them to. Alright, and I'm going to actually have to do a lot of cleaning up on this one if I use it for a doll. But for demonstration purposes, it's coming along. Okay, now you can come under the top lip, as I'm doing now, and give it a little more shape. And come up from underneath of the bottom lip and give it a little more shape. Smooth that line into the mouth, like so. Now the lip usually has a little bit of a divot here, so you can push up a little on this side of it and just a little on that side of it. And it forms itself naturally. You don't have to exaggerate it. Looking pretty girly. Okay, so now we have our general shapes going. We're going to take, the next step is going to be to get a piece of clay. Sorry if this creates a glare, but I have to set the plastic to keep the clay clean. Cut a little piece of clay, and I'm going to crush it in my fingers. Smell that plastic again. Set that down. Now what I'm going to do, and I'm sure you've probably seen this before, but I'm going to take and make matching rolls because I've got pretty good symmetry going on with this head so far. And I want to make sure that each eyelid is about the same. So here's 2 that match. And here are 2 more that match. Okay. And I'm noticing that her forehead is still pretty prominent, so I'm just going to push that back a little bit. There we go. Must have been how I was holding it. It got pretty tall. There we go. And you want to make sure that the face has a relatively level plane from the forehead to the chin. Should be on the same plane. The nose and mouth come forward a little bit more, not drastically. Okay, so now we're going to take these little rolls, taper them on both ends, and they are going to go above and below the eye. As you can see, I made them too big, so I'm going to try again. Never be afraid to pull it back off if it doesn't look right. Okay. 2 the same size, so I'm going to go above the eye on this side. Too big. Let's try again. Troubleshooting. Try taking about 1/3 of that away again. Okay. Above the eye, like that. Oh. One more time. Get that more tapered. There we go. There and there. So now I'm going to go again on the other side. Oops. Okay, and you want to make that smooth if you can. You don't want to put it on all chopped up and full of nail marks like mine is right at the moment, because that just means more work for you with smoothing and attaching it. So you now have your 2 upper lids, as you can see, and there's more clay probably there than is necessary, but what you don't want is not enough, and you get that wide-eyed, shocked look, like your doll is in a perpetual state of surprise. You want to make sure that you give it enough upper eyelid that it does not look surprised all the time. Okay, and bring that lid around and feather it in. So I'm now working on the right side of the camera, where I was working on the left side, and this seems to be working out better. Okay, that's pretty good. So we're gonna, she looks a little drowsy-eyed, so I'm gonna push up on that lid and thin it out just a little bit more, going down into and bringing it around. And it's a little thick on that outside corner, so I'll take that off. Just like that. It's gone. And get a little fat there that doesn't belong. Okay. So we're going to go to little handy dandy stylus. Try to smooth those shapes in the way they belong. Inner corner, outer corner. Okay. On the face, there is a little bit of extra bone here, as you can see on the skeleton, where it protrudes forward. See that? That's that shape right there. That is this bony structure, and Our Lady is missing that. So take one of these little rolls here, and we're going to put that right in above the eye there. And all of this is still rough. Don't worry about keeping it perfectly smooth throughout the entire process, because you'll just overwork the clay and make yourself crazy. Oops. Okay. Sorry. Off the screen again. Okay. So get in there with my hands. You got your temple. The eye from the side kind of curves and rolls around. That little bony bit above the eye there. And pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good. Okay, there's plenty of room on the underside of that lid. See the underside of the lid? To put your eyelashes. When you're ready to do your eyelashes, you just put your glue right along the underside of that lid, and then you put your eyelashes right up against it on the underside. And then once the glue sets, you put a little more glue and then paint it whatever color your heart desires, and you're going to have a lovely, lovely eye or eyelash. Oops. Okay. All right. Now, for the other side, again, you're going to bring that in and connect it, feather it in, bring it around, decide how thick you want it to be, and keep checking the other side, because that's important. You want symmetry, at least as best as you can manage. Okay. Again, I have a little more clay than I need. Take that off. Okay. More or less. And we're going to make some small bottom lid shapes. Now the bottom lid, it's not just a line. It actually has some meat to it, and it rolls into the rest of the face. So it shouldn't stick up too much, and it shouldn't just disappear. you're going to make sure that you have space for this to go in, that you don't already have too much clay there. Get that smoothed into a nice girly shape, that cheek. Okay, and now we're going to take, too much. Same thing, you're going to taper it on both ends, drop it in place, taper it on both ends, drop it in place. This is how I do it. Okay, you want to, I always start on the outer corner and then slowly bring it around and down into the face. And if there's more than a need, which you've already seen happens, then I take it away. Use my scalpel and just cut it out of there. And this is going to curve back up towards the eyeball, because the whole reason that it's there is that it is covering the eyeball. Its shape is entirely related to the shape of the eyeball. Sometimes you'll see a fantasy character where the eyes are really big and dramatic, and the eye will cover from here all the way over to here, and you have this big bulgy round eyeball. Well, that character, you automatically know, has great big eyes. When it opens its eyes, they're huge. When you're dealing with a 6mm eye, then you should have a 6mm eye socket. You should have a 6mm, well, actually roughly 8mm, but shape to the eye. So as you can see, it curves up and over in the same shape, the same arch as the eyeball. Below does the same thing. Okay, and we don't want her to look like she has puffy eyes, but you want to see the definition of that bottom lid. So as you're smoothing, you want to make sure that you're not undermining that that lid. Okay, and then back to this side and start again in that outer corner. Okay, are we in focus? Okay, and press it in, and just like the lip, the bottom lid is a little bit smaller and thinner and more indented than the upper lid. Okay, and again I have more clay than I need, so I can immediately see that that needs to change. Don't cut too much away. Take a little bit, see if it's right, and then you can take a little bit more. Okay. Alright. Bring that over and smooth that down in there. Wish I knew all the technical names to explain what I'm doing, but I figured if I was showing you, that would be good enough. Alright, so we're getting there, a little bit closer. This video is at 19 minutes now, so I'm going to have to stop it soon. Okay, and this is where I like to use my thumbs. The texture of your thumb, let's see if it'll focus, is kind of perfect for smoothing clay. It's also perfect for leaving marks on the clay, but you can use your pinky and gently in circles. You're going to kind of polish, and that'll get rid of your fingerprints. I'm just making this dirtier at the moment, but you can almost sculpt with just your fingers. Okay, and we're going to smooth a little more. Now remember, this is not a portrait. We're not shooting for a portrait. I picked this head because it has this three-dimensional graphic that is showing the angles that I'm referring to. On a flat surface, it's hard to explain that the head is shaped as a dome with a flat plane down the center. There's an angled plane that runs along here. From the eye up is another angled plane, and then the temple dents in behind the... Okay, this is the final part of the video, and we're going to do our final smoothing at this point. We have most of our shapes established the way I want them. I may come back in here and do a little fine tuning on the nostrils. I have this little divot here that I don't want, so I'm going to smooth that back down into the lip. And this is all personal preference. I like the nostrils to be on the small side, but you do want them to be defined. So you want to go down behind them and then up to them. Down behind and up to them. But I like them to be small. You can also take your stylus and come up and curve above, and get that additional definition. The next size to limit its impact so you don't look like you drew a line. And bring it around, which also helps to shape and define the nose. Okay. Now you decide if you want the eyes to have a more mature look or a more youthful look. Typically a more youthful look is going to have a more open eye. And you're going to make sure that you have not encroached upon the overall shape of the eye while trying to smooth it. Staying on the screen pretty good. Okay. Oops. Okay, and you want to go ahead if a more youthful, feminine look is what you want, and make sure that you leave that open. Get a smaller tool to come in and open up the corner a little. Creates a little shadow. See it? A little shadow in the outer corner. Do the same on this side. Okay, make sure the eye is open. The same on both eyes. I'm going to come back and address this one. You're going to create an arch to the top lid to open the eye. The bottom lid doesn't have as much of an arch. There's an appearance of an arch, but that's because it goes around the eyeball. And again, you want to maintain the shape as it follows. Oops. Maintain the shape. So you want to keep that curve. And when you look at the eye from the side, you should be able to see the colored part of the eye and the white part of the eye. So you want to make sure at this point that you have enough of the eye exposed when looking at it from the side that once you paint the eyeball, it doesn't disappear. So you can see the little divot that I'm making on the side there, continually re-establishing that eye shape. Okay, it's looking pretty girly. Okay. And you can use the brush, any size brush. You can use little teeny skinny ones. I have a whole array of brushes that I use, down to some super tiny ones. Here's a few. You can see all different sizes. You typically want a brush that has stiff bristles but soft, like really super soft and really fine brush, so that it doesn't scratch. I even have some that are super small that I use for different things, for getting in little teeny weeny places that my other brushes and my fingers just will not go. Okay, so, and some of this can be sanded. I'll probably sand to get some of this dirt off. Where you can't sand is around the eyes themselves. So you want to make sure that you get that as smooth as you want it now, because fixing it later is not even possible without messing up your eye shape. And again, brush down the bridge of the nose and up the bridge of the nose. This keeps you from moving it around too much, but allows you to smooth and soften those lines. Okay. And I'll get rid of all that lint later. I prefer it to not be there, but it is. So, since I'm actually starting to really like this face, I'm going to have to eliminate it at some point. You saw I went back to the stylus because I had a little bit bigger divot here than I wanted. So I go back and forth. I use my thumbs, I use my brushes, I use my tools, whatever I have to do to get the look that I want. Okay, now you can see we have the plane across here. There's a little muscle through here, a little fat here. The cheekbones are a little higher up here. You have your indented plane here that runs down to the jawline. It's a little bit more fat around the outer corner of the mouth. Our chin is well established. Gave her very full lips. Every lady would like to have full lips like that. Since I can make hers however I want them, I'm going to make them full. And again, this is the time to make sure you have symmetry. And as I can see, her mouth does not have symmetry. I'm going to amend that. And again, what do? We turn it upside down. Looking at it upside down, you will see some things that you did not see with it turned up the other way. For one, I have a good brow bone on this side, and this side is still a little lacking. So, since I obviously forgot to go back and do that side, I'm going to do it now. Let's just to add a little, maybe a teensy bit more. Small little pad. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to add that small little pad because it's really full of lint. Try again. Condition it a little. Okay, mystery dirt number 2. Third time's a charm. Okay. I'm going to add a little clay here. I see I have a little, oh, the tear ducts. We're going to get to that in a minute too. So let's go ahead and get this smoothed in. Build up that brow bone a little bit. And you can use any number of techniques when you're adding clay. It's all good. You can take a bigger tool. Try to keep your shapes where you want them. And let's reposition that brow bone so we are matching left to right. That side's a little lower, a little further over. The other advantage to putting that little foil ball in the head is I'm holding the back of the head, and because that foil ball is in there, the head is not turning to mush, which it probably would do, most likely would do, if I was holding just the clay. Okay, so I'm going to actually flatten out the bridge of her nose a little bit and round it up into her forehead, which is different than the picture, but it's how I like to do it. And just smooth that. Okay. Almost done. Okay, so most of that is where I want it. And what I need now is a tear duct. So in the corner of the eye, we're going to poke in and pull out and down. Tear duct, poke in the corner of the eye, pull out and down, because the tear duct doesn't go straight across, it actually goes down. So we have that established. And next, I'm going to smooth that a little bit, and I lost my upper contour here. So I'm going to indent there a little more, and there a little more. I'm going to come up below, focus, below the tear duct a little bit on both sides. And smooth. There we go. Let's make sure we're still pretty symmetrical, yeah. I know you can't see it, but the camera is literally right in front of my face. My face is 2 inches behind it. So I'm having to lean around it to do this, which is a really awkward thing to do. But it's working. So I'm keeping you where you can see exactly what I'm doing. And that makes me happy. Okay, and then soften that shape just a little bit. Okay, get our pretty good. We got a little bit of an arch to this side that's not on that side. Just make it match real quick as best I can. 14 minutes, we're still good. Okay, and for the tear duct, down in that little hole, which may actually need to be a little bigger still. I'm just going to take the tiniest little ball of clay, super tiny. Okay, it's actually hard to make it, it's so tiny. And we're going to drop it into that hole. A little tiny ball of clay. Oh, went in the right direction. This is where that little tiny brush comes in handy. So you're going to take and coax that little ball of clay right down in that hole, or out of the hole if it's too big, which it's looking like it is. Come out. Come on. Try again. Smaller this time. A little bit smaller. Okay. Trial and error. Try to make it an actual ball. And a little brush. See if it won't roll into its house. There we go. One side in. Okay. Now for the other side. Probably still too big. Half that size. Get in your house. Okay. It's looking too big, wouldn't you say? Alright, let's take it out of there. And, oops. Make a little more room for it. I can always close it down around it. Let's try and get it back in there again. Nope, it's not round. All right. Gently. Ah. Get in there. Okay. Alright. And then you do that same little operation coming up from below. Mending the inner corner. Tear duct. Come up from below. Down from above. Tear duct. It's very pretty. Okay, so this will be smoothed and then get baked and then painted and so on. You can spend additional time adding other features if you like. So that's it for the face, for this size face. Ears I can't fit into, so for now she doesn't have any ears. I will do ears on another video. But I hope that all made sense to you, and I look forward to your comments, and we'll move on